Hello, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to talk about plant and animal cells and the different organelles that are within them. You'll notice that I already have a note at the top of the page. That's because I took a first take and then I wasn't happy with it, so I'm going again here. The note that I want you to write on the top of the page here is a definition for something called a prokaryote. A prokaryote is in quotes here, a simple cell without a nucleus or membrane-bound organelles. The reason why I put simple in quotation marks is because many prokaryotes are actually quite complicated, but prokaryotes are mainly single-celled organisms like a bacteria. They don't have a nucleus, they don't have membrane-bound organelles. So by the end of this lesson, we're going to talk about a lot of different organelles that are inside of cells. These are organelles that you're going to find in plant and animal cells or animal cells in some cases. And you will learn those functions, but I don't want you to think that those are the only cells out there. Bacteria are made of cells, but they don't have all of the same organelles. These organelles here, by the end of the lesson, you should know what their structure is and what their function is and where you're going to find them, and you should be able to pick them out of a diagram. Plant and animal cells are similar in that they are eukaryotes. That's my highlighter. They are eukaryotes and have membrane-bound organelles. Plus a nucleus. Plants and animal cells are similar in that they are eukaryotes, they have membrane-bound organelles, and a nucleus. This piece that I've just written, membrane-bound organelles and a nucleus, is the definition for what a eukaryote is. Many eukaryotes are multicellular, like a plant and an animal, but some eukaryotes are single-cellular. The main defining feature is that they have these membrane-bound organelles and a nucleus. If you don't know what the words membrane-bound or organelles mean, don't worry, we're going to get into it. At the top of the page where you just wrote prokaryote, pro means before, karyote refers to the nucleus. These are before nucleuses, or nuclei, so they don't have a nucleus. Eu means true. These have true nucleuses. Nuclei, I suppose, here. True nucleus. That's what the word means here. Animal cells, what we're going to talk about is a general animal cell. Animals are multicellular organisms, meaning that if you look at different cells in your body, you are an animal, they will all look different. They aren't all going to look like the picture of the cell that we're about to look at, but they will have the same sort of structures. And multicellular organisms will have specialized cells for different parts of their bodies. So a plant will have different cells in its leaf than it has in its root, and you will have different cells in your muscles than you have in your brain. But they'll have the same general guiding principles to them. Here's a picture of an animal cell. We're going to label all of these pieces here. This is going to feel a little bit overwhelming because there's going to be so many labels thrown up onto this screen here. But then we're going to go through each one. I'm going to try and match the colors on the diagram here. I'm going to start just right here in the middle with this large organelle. The organelles are the organs, the functional pieces of a cell. We'll put that definition on the next page. This one right here in the middle, this is our nucleus. I'm going to use this as the line that points towards this large blue sphere. This is a cross section, so we have taken a bite out of the nucleus so that you can see inside. You can see it's got that good jawbreaker gunball center. This is called the nucleolus. I know that's annoying that these are so similar, these two words. It's got this ol in it that sets it apart from the word nucleus. The nucleolus. I'm going to underline that in a different color. Two very similar sounding words with a similar location. We'll see in a couple pages they've got a slightly different function. Then on the outside here, we're going to call this the nuclear membrane. You may see the word nuclear envelope used. Those are synonyms with each other. Okay, now we're going to just move clockwise here. This blue semi-sphere, because it's cut in half, could be actually a variety of things. I'm going to label this as a lysosome slash vacuole. Now we're gonna talk about what those words mean, and I'm gonna label it as maybe it's a lysosome, maybe it's a vacuole, and you'll be able to tell in a couple pages why it'll be difficult to distinguish from the picture. Then, going clockwise again, this purple structure that's attached to the outside of the nucleus, this is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. This is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. One thing that I want you to note here is that it's attached to the nucleus. I guess there's another thing I want you to note, is that compared to the other thing that's here touching the nucleus, it doesn't have little bumps on it. Now, these are clearly two different colors here, but there's supposed to be little dots, like a rough surface on this one, which we're going to skip to that label for that red structure here. This is our rough endoplasmic reticulum. Between these two and the labels here, we've got this purple stack of pancakes. This is called the Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus. You might see it called the Golgi body, but Golgi apparatus also works here. The entire cell is filled with this green fluid. Now there's two labels here that look like they could be pointing to this green fluid. One of them is actually pointing to one of these little black dots floating around. So we're going to make it more obvious here, and we're just going to say that this one is pointing to one of the little black dots. One of the little black dots floating around in the green fluid. This here is called a ribosome. A ribosome. And the green fluid that fills the cell is called the cytoplasm. The entire cell is surrounded with an orange kind of envelope around the whole thing. That's called our cell membrane. I'm going to just zoom in so I can make my writing a little bit nicer. But the entire orange outer coating of this cell is our cell membrane. Inside this cell on this picture, it's yellow and kind of a light blue color. This, we've got two of them here. We've got one here and one here. This is called a mitochondria. You might have heard a meme about mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell. Mitochondrion. Mitochondrion is the singular version of mitochondria, and it's one of these two ones here. Finally, in this cell, we have something that looks like a bundle of sticks, or maybe pasta. like a circular pasta here. This is called a centriole. We got 2 of them, so we're going to write centrioles. Centrioles. It's these 2 that are next to each other here. I'm going to zoom out so you can see the whole picture. I know that my face is blocking some of the picture there. There we go. There's our whole picture of our labeled animal cell. If you need to pause the video to put those labels down, then go ahead and do that. On the next page, we're going to look at a plant cell. Now, this is going to feel overwhelming. We've got so many different words here, but we're going to revisit each one of these step by step. It's going to be a long video. You don't have to watch it all in one go, but we're going to go through what each, or at normal speed even, but we're going to go through what each of these are. Here's a plant cell. We're going to also label the plant cell. We're going to start where we started with the animal cell, which is with the nucleus. This blue structure in this diagram is our nucleus. One thing I want to make abundantly clear as we go through a bunch of different pictures is that there is no perfect cell diagram. And things will look similar between diagrams, but they won't look exactly the same. And when you see a diagram of the cell on a quiz or a test, it might not look exactly like the cell diagrams in the notes. The key here is to know the defining characteristics of what makes the thing the right choice. The nucleus, there's going to be only one of it. It's a large circular shape. It's going to have a nice chewy gumball center, and that is our nucleolus. And again, this also has an outer membrane around it. That is our nuclear membrane. With the animal cell, the next stop that we had was that lysosome, or the vacuole. We've got this large kind of blue piece in the middle of the cell here. This is one of the things that's going to make a plant cell different than an animal cell. This large blue piece in the center here, this is called the central vacuole. And I'm going to put a little star beside the central vacuole here because it's going to be something that is important for setting apart plants and animal cells. And with that in mind, I'm actually going to ask you to flip back to the last page. And then besides centrioles, I'm going to ask you to also put a star. We'll get to that on the chart on the bottom of the next page, but it's going to set apart these different types of cells. Okay, moving on. We're just going to go clockwise here. Notice that there's also these little black dots floating around inside of the cytoplasm. And if you notice that there's also dots on this yellow organelle here, that's a good observation that you've made. Those are both, in both cases here, these are our ribosomes. This here is the same organelle as this one here and this one here. It also happens to be a similar organelle, or same organelle as what's found in the animal cell. This is a mitochondria. Both animal and plant cells have mitochondria. Animal or plant cells have a few things that animal cells don't. We already looked at the central vacuole. The next thing that you might have noticed is this green piece all around. That's not actually our cell membrane. This is our cell wall. I'm going to put a star next to it because it's one of the things that a plant cell has that an animal cell does not. There's also these 2 green lumps here that are filled with little lines stacked on top of each other. These are called chloroplasts. Also going to put a star next to the chloroplast because those are plant specific. When you're looking at diagrams of these, chloroplasts and mitochondria can look pretty similar. A mitochondria, well, I want you to think of it having squiggly lines inside, whereas a chloroplast is going to have stacks of lines on the inside. That's especially going to help if you're not given a color diagram of a cell. If you're given a color diagram, then the chloroplast ones are usually going to be green, but that's not always a good rule to go by. Chloroplasts are going to have those stacks of lines on the inside, whereas mitochondria will have like a wavy line all throughout the inside. Plant cells still have a cell membrane. They have this cell wall, but they also have a cell membrane. I'm just going to color in orange here a piece of cell membrane. It's this lighter colored layer that is kind of underneath the cell wall. They still have a cell membrane, just like animal cells, and that cell membrane is very important. You'll notice that the whole plant cell is full of a green space. That is our cytoplasm. I won't put the label behind my face in the corner. This is our cytoplasm. All right, and now we have all of these layers here. They've given us two different colors here, but if you were given a non-color diagram, this would be a difficult picture to pick out which one is which. Now, in this picture, I want you to think that the yellow one is attached to the nucleus here. So just like how it was attached to the nucleus in the other picture with the animal cell, this is our endoplasmic reticulum. So in yellow, we have our rough endoplasmic reticulum. And that's the section that has all of the ribosomes attached to it. But we also have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. I'm going to cross lines, which you don't normally want to do in a diagram labeling. Maybe I can just squeeze the line up at the top. Boom, up there. I'm just going to highlight it with the laser pointer. This is our smooth endoplasmic reticulum. On the previous page with the animal cell, they had two different colors. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum was purple, and the rough endoplasmic reticulum was red. When you're looking at a diagram, you want to find the layer of membranes that is attached to the nucleus. The part that has little bumps on it, that's the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and the one that doesn't have bumps on it is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. This orange organelle looks very similar, but I want you to note that it's not immediately surrounding the nucleus, it's off to the side, and in some diagrams you're going to have more than one of these. This is the Golgi apparatus. A lot of these names should seem familiar because they were in the animal cell diagram. They've returned here. The ones that I've put stars beside are the ones that are unique to plant cells. The chloroplast, the cell wall, and the central vacuole. Okay. We've been using the word organelle a whole bunch, so maybe we should have done our definition first, but we're going to do a definition now. An organelle is a specialized structure within a cell that provides a specific function. A specialized structure within a cell that provides a specific function. Think of the word organ, and like your brain is an organ, your heart is an organ, your liver is an organ, and L meaning just kind of small, like a cutesy little organ. A small organ, it's inside of a cell. Plant cells versus animal cells. these are the important ones that I want you to know. There's going to be some more differences than just what's going to be listed here, but plant cells are going to have some unique organelles. Plant cells have cell walls. That's a difference that I want you to know for Science 10. Plant cells also have chloroplasts. Now, I want you to remember that both animal and plant cells have mitochondria. It's a pretty common misconception. I'm not actually sure where it comes from, where animal cells have mitochondria, plant cells have chloroplasts. No, both of them have mitochondria, but only plant cells have chloroplasts. Plant cells will also have one large central vacuole. We're going to compare that to animal cells. Animal cells have centrioles. That's the organelle that I had you star on the previous page. There's going to be some other things that they have that plant cells don't have, but that's the big one, is that they have centrioles. And then instead of one large central vacuole, they have several smaller vacuoles. Instead of one big one. I think actually for this video, this is where we're going to take a pause. This video covered the labeling of a plant cell, the labeling of an animal cell, and what these organelles look like, and then the key differences between the two. The next lesson, we're going to explore the actual functions of each of these organelles, but I'm going to stop the video now and catch you in the next one.